Well, we got that down and that down, and it appears that we got a fire going over here. I'm not really sure how that happened. You know anything about that fire?
No, Papa decided to start it.
Oh, jeez.
And it's a huge fire.
That thing is raging.
Don't get too close to it. Don't get too close to it, otherwise you're going to the devil's lair.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This is where we'll have to be vigilant. That's why we got all the equipment up here, ready to take care of this if it does get out of control. But we've got pretty good sized brush fire going on in there right now. The good news is the field, while it's dry because we sprayed it, everything else is pretty green. So you can see the fire line burnt right up through the edge there. It's not going in. You know, this isn't the west, this is the east. We live in a deciduous rainforest here. I mean, it's been cut down to farm, but it was a deciduous rainforest. So it's not like it doesn't get dry enough here to really start wildfires. It just doesn't happen. You can get a brush fire every once in a while at the wrong time of year, but this time of year, in August, with the much rain as we've had over the last few weeks, we're not at all concerned about it. But that is one raging fire. Look how hot that stuff is. The brush has been sitting there for about 4 months, so it should burn good. It's a pretty clean fire though. Cyrus said he learned something new today. What'd you learn?
That if you leave it in neutrals and turn it off, it'll roll forward by itself.
How'd you find that out?
Because I was going around the corner to put the toilet paper into the four-wheeler, and I saw it had moved all the way up to the logs. And I'm like, wait, what? I parked it behind Papa's four-wheeler.
Lessons learned, right?
Amen. That's how you learn.
So there we are, 3 hours later. Pretty much everything's burnt down. I'm gonna come up here tomorrow morning and finish cleaning it up and probably get it burnt down to the last little bit, and then whatever's left we'll pick it up and we'll take it off the field. But I guess that's about as good as it's gonna get this year. Let's see, what's the heat level like down in here? There's a little bit of warmth in there, but not enough to worry about. We'll get it moved over off the side of the field here and get that one up there cleaned up a little bit more, and then I think we'll fire the bush hog up. We're kind of in the home stretch now. I'm hoping that we can get this switched over to regenerative this year. I don't know. We'll see how well it takes a seed. I know the line, or I know the pH level's still down up here, but I'm hoping that we can get through it. But we'll see what happens. Let's go ahead and get this tractor fired up. Get this done. Man, it feels good. Man, it feels good. Started this project back in March, and now look at it. Whew. Daggone. You know what? I'm gonna wait to brush hog until after I seed. What am I doing? So we got a nice little pile of logs here that Cyrus let the four-wheeler run off into. So those will work. We're gonna use these cedars up. I don't know what we'll build with them, but we'll turn them into lumber later this year, or later this fall, or maybe this winter, who knows when we get to it. And then the rest of that ash will just be firewood for new fireplaces. All right, so today's the big day. We got a bunch of seed going in the ground today. So we got the turnips that are gonna go in the ground. It's a forage brassica. It's used in the cattle industry to actually graze cattle, but we're going to use it to draw in deer and produce turnip greens. And then we've got clover. This is an annual clover. This is going to go in for nitrogen fixation for next year's crop. We've got some dwarf Essex rape. That's going to go in for forage. And then we've got some purple top turnips. Of course, we'll eat the turnips, we'll eat the greens, and then we've got some Ladino clover going in, and that's a perennial clover. We'll put it in. I don't like to put it on heavy. I just like to have something in there. Typically through our rotations, through our cover crop rotations, that clover will stay in the lower stories. And then the big thing here is gonna be the winter rye. Nice little mixture of seed. Let's see the different ones in there. Different clovers and brassica. So today's gonna be kind of a good example as to why every field's kind of different, right? So what I do is probably not gonna work for you, and why you're gonna have to change up and do the things that work for you. So we're gonna broadcast everything up here, and we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna put on like 4 pounds of brassica. There's an acre here, and then we're gonna put on 50 pounds of rye, and then we'll come back and say, I don't know, 3-4 weeks, we'll assess the situation. If we need to add more rye, then we will then, but that'll give us stages of rye in here, and that way when the wildlife come in, the deer come in, so that way when the deer come in, they will hit the early stuff early, and then they'll transition over to the later planted stuff later. And it kind of gives me some insurance so that I know that I'm gonna have a green crop up here. You don't want to throw all your seed in at once, right? We're gonna have big rain coming this weekend. We should have good germination. I want a good crop on this field when it rains, but I always have a backup plan, right? You know what? This little contraption would be great if I was just doing a little bit, but man, I need to upgrade to something bigger because I got like 200 pounds of seed to spread today and like 4 acres of ground to cover. So let's get something better. Right here he is. You're gonna spread all that seed? There we go. That's better. Look at that. Right mounted up on the four-wheeler. Got the battery area to go. All right, 50 pounds of cereal rye, all ready to be spread out here. Now, you know, typically I would have used our no-till implement to be able to do this, but you see this field, so if you just cleared it, it is loaded up with all kinds of stumps and sticks and everything else, and I'm not bringing my planter up here because inevitably I would break something if I tried to plant this with no-till planter. So we're gonna broadcast it probably for a couple years, at least until that stuff can decompose, and then we'll probably be able to no-till it. So everything in this is a process. We could have brought a bulldozer up here and stripped this off, and it would have been nice and clean, but it also would have removed every last bit of topsoil. So we did it this way for a reason.
Stay back away from you. I think he's gonna hit me really hard.
All right, all the seeds in up here. Typically, what I would do would just be to roll this down, smash it, and let it go. But since we've got so much stuff up here, I can't bring a harrow in here to drag it down. There's not a lot I can do, but what I can do is take that bush hog, and I can bush hog all this stuff and fluff it up. It's not really the best practice, but in this situation, it's the best that we have. So that's what I'm gonna do next. Get this all bush hog down, get all that fluff up on top of the seed, and then when the rain comes, it'll give it a nice little mulch on top. So we should get decent germination out of that. So up here, it's 5 days later. Looks like we did a pretty decent job here. We've got germination just starting to kick off, and it looks pretty good, honestly. you can just see just starting to come on. We've got little brassica here. Those are little turnips coming up. And we've got little pieces of rye that are just starting to kick out here. And you can see them, they're right there, you know, right here. Just starting to come up. That's not too bad for 5 days in. So this looks great. I mean, right here, we look at the aerials, you see what this looked like before, and then you look at what it looks like now, and it's just, it is a night and day difference to what it was when we started this spring, and everything is booming up here. Everything is really starting to boom up here. You know, these cherry trees put on a really good crop this year. I think they're pretty much done. They're falling off on the ground. Got a few left up here on the trees. Crabapple trees are still full of apples. Of course, they won't ripen off for a good little while yet. You can see up in there. I mean, look at that. Look up in there. Those branches are just full of apples. There's a good little spot where you can see the rye is really coming up really strong right in there. This tree right here is loaded with apples this year. Never have I ever seen this many apples on this tree. This tree loaded up with crab apples. Just loads of them. Never have we ever produced this much food up here, so I know it's going to be a good season for us, and I know that we're going to benefit. We're going to be able to produce a lot of food up here over the next few years, and it's going to be good for the wildlife too. I mean, they really needed something to hold them in here during the winter time, and this is definitely going to be it. So.